Senate Committee on Transportation will come to order. Welcome, everyone. First matter, we do have one a bill that without objection. Let's call the roll first. Thank you. See, I told you. Keep an eye on me.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. All right, one matter to take up very quickly. Senate Bill 968, without objection, will be passed by for the week. Very good. There we go. Okay, first up on my list here, we have Senator Vogel.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I have two bills, Senate Bill 556 and Senate Bill 557. And what I'd like to do is, because both bills deal with the same subject matter, I'm going to start with 556, right, Lisa? Because we've got our paperwork organized now, so we can do that. I'll start with 556, and I will let the speakers come up, but just understand that rather than have people who are here in support of the bill speak two times, they'll speak one time, but they'll be in support of both of the bills. So the first bill is Senate Bill 556. And just to give you a little bit of context and background on this, the community where I live has spent a lot of time and a lot of effort working on a section of Route 17, which has created a lot of concern among the community, among the people who live there, among the people who drive on 17, because of safety issues. And in the years that have brought us to today, we've had our local board of supervisors, our sheriff's office, our local state police, everybody in local government involved in VDOT. And everybody has worked really hard together to do what they can to make this a safer corridor. We have brought bills in the past that didn't work. This year, we hope that the solution that we have, and the first bill is in front of you, Senate Bill 556, that would allow, as a deterrent factor, for them to post that it's a $15 fine in excess of the regular fine for speeding along that part of the corridor. What that part of Route 17 actually is really almost treated like a beltway. And it's built like that. People drive like it is. They drive about 80 miles an hour. There's a lot of traffic. But the underlying challenge is it's still really a rural road. So you have horse trailers and tractors and school buses turning slowly off, sometimes every couple hundred feet. And so what we've tried to do is, in response to the request from the community, bring two measures that, while not earth-shattering, are an important step in the right direction. And certainly the community feels like the ability to post that increased fine would make a difference. And the second bill, which I'll get to after we vote on the first one, also deals with signage. But I will yield the remainder of my time to some other people who I know have worked really hard to be prepared to come today, so I will not take up any more of your time. I've asked them to be brief, but they're going to testify and share with you their experience and why they care so passionately about these bills.
Oh, okay. Yeah, could we get the substitute? We have a motion on the substitute. A second? All in favor? Substitutes before us.
Thank you. My name is Scott Filling. I reside at 4568 Belvoir Road in the Plains, Virginia. Thank you for this time to speak today, Senators, of this transportation committee. I'm a 20-year resident at the location where I reside. I have been working on the Route 17 speeding calming mission and various cost-effective solutions starting at the grassroots level of Fauquier County Transportation Committee and Sheriff's Department since 2004. Over 400 signatures from citizens have supported this over the years, as well as several separate citizens and church groups to calm down the high-speed, dangerous highway that is not designed like Interstate 66 or 81, but used by over 9 million vehicles per year as if it is a high-speed interstate. A groundswell of citizen support created the need for a special 2013 meeting with VDOT, Board of Supervisors, State Local Police, Senator Joe Vogel, county government officials, and citizens to present the mounting data and discuss solution. VDOT's Mark Nesbitt of Warrenton stated at that meeting, per their data that the speed limit, that Route 17 has a speeding problem, but puts full responsibility on law enforcement to control the speeding without providing them the proper safe shoulder widths to enforce the speed limit law safely and properly throughout most of Fauquier County. It has been a painstaking and frustrating process that has had plenty of supporting data from VDOT statistics, deaths, and serious injury of locals and commuters, photographs of tractor trailers and auto accidents, a house burned down from an auto accident, power line poles hit and affecting power to homes and businesses many times, and hundreds of testimonials and complaints over the years by citizens to law enforcement and myself for something to be done about it. I worked hard to help our current Sheriff Bob Mosher to become elected, who has brought much improved enforcement to Route 17, along with proper deputy training to be able to assist the state police to conduct mobile tractor trailer safety inspections due to the large volume of tractor trailers using Route 17 daily. It is an overwhelming wave of demand placed on our police force on Route 17 alone, and they need help in the form of these bills in relation to the 5 deputies that make up the patrol team. The patrol team is not designated only to speed limit enforcement and tractor trailer inspections for faulty equipment, but also respond to drug issues like meth, heroin that are on the rapid rise, domestic violence, robberies, gang infiltration, criminal manhunts, investigations, and so forth. Per patrol deputies' discussions with me at my home and on the phone over the years, they have to deal with 48 dangerous hotspots for speeding and dangerous driving throughout Fauquier County to try to provide proper balanced attention, besides just on Route 17. Per Sheriff Mosher's data, there were 65 speeding summons issued on Route 17 between Marshall and Virginia in 2019, which is the section in which I live. It's between Marshall and Warrenton, Virginia. It's an 8.5-mile stretch of road of Route 17. Route 17 is the main thoroughfare used cutting through the middle of Fauquier County. Senate Bills 556 and 557 are gravely needed to pass to assist the speeding and dangerous driving on Route 17 to be calmed down in Fauquier County. These bills are cost-effective measures that would have immediate positive results in the speed limit being obeyed more strictly without the need for police to be present. The main goal of these bills is prevention of accidents, serious injury, and death to people and animals. The following variables I'm going to read through, I've all sent to all the senators in the past on January 15th. I hope you had a chance to review them. I will go through them very quickly now, just to ensure everybody has heard it. In 1998, there was a total of 3,570,180 vehicles on Route 17. The section where the data is collected is between Marshall and Warrenton, Virginia, through VDOT counters. 2006, we had 5,123,164 total vehicles. In 2016 and 17 combined, there was 14,202,614 vehicles. All vehicles speeding in the range of 61 miles to 100 miles per hour and up to as high as 147 miles per hour per VDOT data was 9,602,301. This equates to about 4.5 million speeding per year on this section of Route 17. Reckless driving is defined in Virginia as 20 miles over the speed limit. VDOT statistics show we have 556,602 instances of reckless driving for each year for 2016 and 17. The shoulders, as I mentioned earlier, they are extremely narrow. That is one of the biggest deterrents for the police to enforce the speeding on this stretch of road. It has been like this for a very long time. Emergency vehicles have trouble getting to accidents that occur on Route 17 because of the lack of shoulder width and steep drop-offs. Vehicles cannot get out of the way, simply put. This adds greater time to reach the accident by emergency responders. Our goal overall is prevention of accidents not to occur through obeying the strict 55 miles per hour. The ports of Virginia for the past 5 years are dredging channels that are allowing the largest ships to pick up and deliver cargo along the entire East Coast. The primary delivery route by millions of tractor trailers is Route 17 that links up with Interstate 66 at the town of Marshall and then west on Interstate 66 to Front Royal Inland Marine Port. Per data from the following magazines, the port, yes, sir.
Are we getting ready to wrap up here?
I'm trying to give you the evidence, the variables that are adding to this.
Okay, I'll give you 30 more seconds. Let's go.
Okay, I'm going to go real quick. If I could maybe ask for a minute, I'll summarize quickly. Ports of Virginia are having massive growth. We have numbers of driveways that link to many homes. We have VDOT working on a project at an intersection of 1729-15 where they're going to remove the traffic light. This traffic light, once taken away, is going to increase more drivers on a steady basis, and we're already dealing with speeding to make it hard to get across the intersections. The school bus system fully supports this. I think they sent you an email about this and the number of school buses and drop-offs of children, and they have to stop in the road. They can't pull to the side. Tractor trailers are hauling dangerous and explosive products, so and they do flip over on sections of road, especially at the intersection of Old Tavern Road. I'm just trying to summarize quickly. Where these signs would be most effective is existing technology, which is GPS navigation maps that are built into cars now and also found on people's phones. If these fines, increased speeding fines, were put into place, drivers would be alerted through a voice, so they won't have to take their hands off the vehicle, off the steering wheel, so that they know that they are in an increased speeding fine zone. That supports
Senator
the speed limit to be
Newman.
obeyed.
Did you say there's 9 million cars on this road? I mean, that's really quite extraordinary. Is that right?
Yes, sir, it is. That's correct.
In a year, I believe. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. That's very, very helpful, honestly.
Thank you.
I don't vote for these things, but Senator Vogel has leaned pretty hard on us, as you know, and what I thought was a bad bill is looking a lot better. So thank you for coming today.
Thank you, sir. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we had a representative from the Sheriff's Office who drove a long way to be here just to show his support. So if he just wants to come up, and then we also have a member of the Board of Supervisors and a few other residents who want to say a word. And I know we're short on time, but we'll be super quick.
Yeah, we've had a comprehensive presentation, so
Yes.
just give us your name and that you support the bill.
I'll be very brief. I'm Captain Ray Prudham, Fauquier County Sheriff's Office Patrol Division Commander. I support both bills as presented.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Holder Trumbo, and I serve on the Fauquier County Board of Supervisors representing the Scott District, which includes this section of road, and I'm also vice chair of the board, and my board supports these bills as well, and we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Cosgrove.
Silly question, but Mr. Trumbo, are you related to a former member of this?
I am distantly, but not directly.
Okay, well, welcome.
I get that question.
Yeah.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you so much. School teacher. Just missed my Virginia Studies class to be here. Thank you for the time representing a congregation of the Bethel Church. Many members injured, quite upset. I will forward this to the entire committee for your examination. I've got more evidence of school bus safety. School buses that have been rerouted off of 17 and they're still having problems. They can't get them on and off 17. And then our dear neighbor whose husband was killed in 2010. And the effects of the physical therapy she's still going through today. Again, a perpendicular driveway. There's over 60 of them between Warrenton and Marshall. There is no feasible way for people to travel this road safely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
your time.
Anyone else?
We have one more letter, and that's it.
One more letter. Could you summarize, give us your name and summarize the letter, please?
Yes, my name is Sophia Mellows, and I live at 7628 Enon Church Road in the Plains. And so we live right at the intersection of 17 and Old Tavern Road. And I'm here today because my father, John Mellows, died as a result of a horrific accident right at that intersection. He was leaving Old Tavern Road and about to cross Route 17, and a car T-boned the side of his car. He was conscious when he was airlifted to Fairfax Hospital, and he was treated in trauma-intensive care there for a week before he passed away, surrounded by his children and his grandchildren. Every time I, my husband, or our 3 young adult children, or any of the other families that live on Enon Church Road drive anywhere, we must either make that treacherous crossing of Route 17, or we have to merge into the high-speed traffic traveling along Route 17, which is often at least 70 miles per hour. And this is my daily experience that I bring to you, in addition to the statistics. In practice, Route 17 functions as a major highway carrying a high volume of vehicles that are traveling at very high speeds. But it also functions as a local road where those of us who live near it have to merge onto it at a low speeds. So this combination is literally deadly. It's very difficult to merge onto traffic at high speed, particularly during the afternoon rush hour. Cars are lined up down Old Tavern Road trying to make that turn onto 17. And as I sit there waiting my turn to cross, I'm regularly horrified at the close calls that I see. This accident, I'd like to tell you a little bit more. I know this is a personal, but it is very personal to many of us who live there. I'd like to tell you a little bit more about my father, John Mellows. He often drove the 4 hours from his home to visit our family. He was strong as a bull, vital, healthy, devoted to his family, and in fact, whenever we had something heavy to move around the house, we would say, wait till Papu comes to visit, because he can move it. He had plane tickets to visit his sister, his family, and his childhood friends in Greece just a couple of weeks after the accident. And he had collected a huge suitcase full of gifts to take to everyone in Greece. He was looking forward to his eldest grandson's upcoming college graduation, his granddaughter's high school graduation, and another grandson's first communion. He was playful and fun-loving, and his 6 grandchildren adored him. He had a future. A few months ago, my sons witnessed an accident identical to the one that took their grandfather's life. They were caught in traffic, watching as the police arrived. The helicopter airlifted victims, and a lifeless victim was draped with a sheet and carefully placed in an ambulance. I understand that that was a young family visiting our beautiful part of Virginia for the day. Several days ago, my sons heard a loud bang shortly after their sister had driven off from home. I walked in as they were frantically calling her to make sure that she had not been in an accident at Route 17, as their grandfather was. The panic on their faces was chilling. I tell you of my family's personal experiences today to help you understand that this problem is real, and you're hearing from someone who lives right at that intersection and lives it every day. Thank you very much for the
Thank you so
time.
much, and we're so sorry for your loss. We have so many problems throughout the Commonwealth, and I'm glad you've helped make us aware of this one in particular. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions from the committee for the patron or any of the speakers? Operate on a motion.
Move to report.
Second.
We have a move to pass the bill and a second. Open the vote. All in favor, vote aye. Opposed, nay.
Ayes 12, noes 3.
Ayes 12, noes 3. The bill
Thank you.
passes.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator
Chair.
Vogel, we've had testimony on both bills, so
Right.
we'll now entertain a motion on Senate Bill 557. And the motion should be, if reported, Senator Howell has requested that this go to Finance and Appropriations. So that would be the proper motion if we're
Thank
going
you.
to pass this bill.
And just to clarify for the committee, this one is to put signs on the side of
Right.
the road.
Correct.
Pardon?
Report.
There's one line amendment, Mr. Chairman. If somebody could move the line amendment, we're removing the very last sentence.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor of the line amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we have a first and a second to pass the bill, or to re-refer the bill to pass and re-refer to Finance. All in favor, we'll open the vote. Vote aye. Opposed, nay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. You've made a tremendous impact on the community. You made a lot of people at home extremely happy. And I appreciate all of your time and the time that you let me speak to you separately. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Vogel.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator
a
Spruill.
saving conference measure, could we scratch by bill, Senate Bill 228? Can we strike that, please?
We have a motion to strike Senate Bill 228.
Yes,
So
sir.
moved.
I'm sorry,
228.
228. We have a motion
And a second.
and a second. All in favor of striking 228, vote aye. Opposed, nay.
On the board. Yeah.
Ayes 15, no 0.
That bill is stricken from the record. Is Senator Surville? If you excuse me, Senator Edwards, if we could, we've got a number of bills we can roll here and get this out of here. Senator Surville has to be and so does Senator Deeds in courts, and so we need to Okay, Senator Deeds, we'll take you first, and then Senator Surville's bills.
The bill I've got is 289, and I think there's an amendment to it. Do you have that? Yes.
Louis Lucas. What about her? Is she a course also?
Mr. Chairman, the amendment is on line 98 after section 381-3418.17. Add a sentence that reads, "Any request for a traumatic brain injury indicator on an applicant's driver's license shall be accompanied by a form prescribed by the commissioner and completed by a licensed physician."
Okay, do we have a motion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, those of you who were on this committee will remember it from last year. This was an idea brought to me by several people in the Charlottesville area that are in somewhat rehab sessions with traumatic brain injury. Often when there's people with injuries, often when they have driver's licenses sometimes, and when they are stopped, sometimes they react a little bit differently just because of the way of their injury. This TBI indicator that would be on a license at their request, and after with this amendment, after they've submitted to the form and the proper documentation from a licensed physician that they've got a traumatic brain injury, it would just give the police officer more information about the situation they're in. This is nothing new. We do this in other situations, and I'd ask for your consideration. I think there's some people here that want to speak to it.
Thank you. Any questions for the patron? Senator Cosgrove.
Well, I'm not sure which one of these work. Senator Deeds, as you know, I supported this bill last year. I'm going to support it again this year. Your witness from last year was extraordinary. I don't think this is going to hurt anything, especially if it's by the request of the person having the driver's license. This is a really good idea to provide safety for that driver and to the police officer that may be dealing with it.
I think that's exactly right. It's an assistance to the officer. It's just more information about the person that's stopped.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And you have someone who, anyone else for a question for the patron? Please step forward, those in favor of the bill.
Hi, Jason Young, Chair of Virginia Alliance of Brain Injury Service Providers, and we'd just like to express our support for this bill. There's 300,000 Virginians disabled as a result of brain injury, and as the Senator said, they sometimes have aphasia, communication difficulties, hemiparesis that to the officer it may, in a best case scenario, make them appear misunderstood, and in a worst case scenario, they might assume that they're impaired, drunk driving or something like that. And so we just think having this voluntary designation there to opt in when folks do have those difficulties is a good step for everyone.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in favor of the bill? Well, let me just, anyone here opposed to the bill? DMV, do you have any comments to make here? Rick, welcome.
Mr. Chairman, Rick Holcomb, DMV Commissioner. We have no position on the bill, but we did work with the patron on the amendment and appreciate him adding that to the bill.
Thank you, sir, very much. And we now have a motion to pass the bill. We have a second?
Second.
All in favor say, or all in favor, let's open the vote. Vote yay or nay.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator Deeds. Next, Senator Edwards, we'll get to you next, but we just need to deal with this one other bill to get our folks over to the Crim Sub, which is your committee. So you're the Uber chair on that committee. So we've got three bills, and what we're going to do here is that we're going to roll into Senator Surville's bill, Senator Saslaw's, and Senator Stewart's bills, and I believe Senator Kiggins here?
Yes, she is.
Yes, Senator Kiggins. The way I'd like to handle this is let Senator Surville present his broader bill, which also represents the other two. And before we vote on that, I thought we would give you an opportunity to talk about your much narrower bill, and then the committee can make its choice as to what they want to move. We can't do both, and whether they want the broader bill or the narrower bill that you have presented. So stay tuned, and we'll knock this all out right now. Thank you so much. Senator Surville, Senate Bill 160.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think council might have some additional language for 160.
Is this a substitute or amendments?
Yes, sir, a substitute?
Substitute. All right. We have a motion on the substitute. We have a motion and a second to accept the substitute. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Substitutes before us. Senator Servell, Senate Bill 160.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Senate Bill 160 is the hands-free legislation, which this committee has seen now, I think, for probably 3 or 4 different years in a row. The bill that you have in front of you is the last bill that I believe left the Senate before it went into conference, with one exception, is the actual beginning of the bill, lines 13 through 30, have to do with a safety educational program that is in legislation proposed by the governor that I think Senator Lucas is carrying with Speaker Fillercorn, and I just added that to my bill to conform it with theirs. They put hands-free in the big omnibus traffic transportation bill. So the bill as drafted would make it illegal to, or make it a traffic offense to drive with a phone in your hand, subject to certain exemptions. And, you know, we've heard the bill before, we've heard the debate, but this all started back, and I think Senator Barker had a bill in, I think in 2007 or 8, where we made texting while driving a secondary offense. In 2012, Delegate Ben Klein and I passed legislation making texting while driving a primary offense. I wanted to be hands-free at the time, but we couldn't get the votes for that, and we've been trying for hands-free ever since. So basically the problem right now is that everybody knows texting while driving is a problem. Virginia Tech studied this probably 6 or 7 years ago and found the average text message takes a driver's eyes off the road for an average of 4 seconds, on average, some more, some less. If you're doing 60 miles an hour at 88 feet a second, that's the length of a football field with your eyes closed. And it's extremely dangerous behavior. Traffic deaths are up, traffic accidents are up, traffic injuries are up over the last 5 years after a 50-year decline. A lot of people attribute that to people being distracted in your car. Law enforcement have a bill right now that they can't enforce because right now a police officer can't tell what somebody's doing with the phone in their hand. If you're just looking at it, technically it's legal to play Angry Birds while you drive or to chase Pokemon while you drive with a phone in your hand. It's legal to just look at a website. And so most other states have gone to hands-free as the standard, A, because it's safer, but B, because it's more enforceable. And I think if we do this, law enforcement will finally be able to do something about this epidemic and start enforcing the law, and we'll have safer roads. I know that there were some concerns about disparate enforcement and people being profiled. Some language was included in prior versions requested by the Virginia Legislative Black Caucus, which is incorporated into this. The co-sponsor is Jeff Bourne in the House of Delegates, and I think the bill is in really good shape right now. And this bill, as written, I believe, minus the safety stuff at the beginning, passed the full Senate with 36 votes last year, and I would hope the committee would pass the bill.
Thank you. Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you. Senator Thurble, this got held up by semantics last year between the House and the Senate.
Right.
Of course, we're always right, but has that all been worked out, do you think?
You'd have to ask the former courts chairman down the way, but he was on the conference committee. I wasn't party to that, but I can tell you at least that Delegate Bourne and I have introduced the identical legislation, with the exception of this safety stuff at the beginning, which we've now added to try and make it similar to the transportation omnibus. I don't think there's any controversy about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the committee?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to, under the current law, I believe there was a provision that if you're legally stopped, like at a stoplight or a stop sign, or not actually moving, you could still hold it. As I understand from line 33, because of the word while driving, that exception still exists. If you're at a stop sign or a stoplight or the car is not moving, would it be unlawful or?
That would be my interpretation. The other word that you see in the traffic code that's used sometimes is operate, and the Supreme Court of Virginia has said that operation can merely be having the car on. And so because we're not using the word operate, and they've clearly defined being stationary with the car on as operation, I would think driving would mean you have to be manipulating the car, hitting a pedal, moving a steering wheel, moving the car for it to constitute driving. So I think that's right.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I also note there's one other change in the bill than before, and there's a delayed enactment. I think the way it's written, there's an enactment clause that says that the bill wouldn't go into effect until January 1 of 2021. So there's a 6-month delay from what we normally do.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Obenchain.
So, Senator Servell, you believe that even if you're sitting if you've stopped at a stoplight or at a stop sign or a yield sign and you have not put your car in park, that's not driving? Do you have a...
I don't have any cases, and I haven't researched it specifically, but I know our prior intent was only...
I just don't agree. I don't believe that that's the law.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chair,
Senator McClellan.
maybe this is a question for staff. My understanding has been that both in current law and the intention of this bill is if you are stopped, as in not, the car is not moving, you could hold something in your hand. The way that this is written, is that accurate, or do we need to clarify that?
Mr. Chairman, that is my understanding as well, but I would be happy to clarify.
This is, if I might, this is kind of unusual language on line 33, while driving a moving motor vehicle. I think that's pretty clear that the automobile has to be moving.
Right.
Is that your understanding, Senator Obenchain?
You're saying it says that? I don't think...
It does say that.
On line...
Driving a moving...
Line 33 of the substitute, it says, "It is unlawful for any person while driving a moving motor vehicle." Because I know sometimes driving might be considered parked on, for DUI, I think is considered parked on the road in park with the engine on.
It's operation.
Or operation is defined that way. And so this is a moving motor vehicle.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Favola.
Thank you. In an effort to be hyper certain on this, it just says on highways in the Commonwealth. So that would that include locally owned streets or secondary roads and all that? And that's how it would be interpreted. Okay.
Staff says yes.
Public highways are basically anything that's open to the public. If, for example, there's shopping centers that have signs that say you can only use the shopping center parking lot for shopping center purposes, that's not a public highway, but everything else that's open to the public is.
Okay. Other questions for Senator Servo?
Can I...
Senator Obenchain?
And some of the concerns that I know had been raised by the Legislative Black Caucus and were subject of discussion last year concerned the possibility of pretexts. And aren't you concerned at all about the police officer who may stop somebody and say, I saw you touching the phone before you came to a full stop or after you came to a stop? Nobody is going to be in a position to contradict that police officer's testimony. I don't know that clarifies that issue, or I don't know that it should give people a lot of comfort if that's a concern.
Certainly.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Serval, did you want to answer?
Well, I was gonna quote something that Senator Spruill said in caucus last year, but it looks like Senator Spruill wants to say it.
Please do.
So when this came up in caucus last year, my recollection is that Senator Spruill pointed out to us that if somebody wanted to pick on a black motorist, there's a lot of other ways they can do it, and they can do it right now. They can just say, hey, I thought they were speeding, or I thought they were weaving in their lane, or they didn't use their turn signal, and you can't, corroborate much any of that. And at least from my point of view, right now under the current law, they could say, I saw them touching their phone with their fingers, and I thought maybe they were texting. And from my perspective, this standard is a more protective standard against texting because it's a lot easier to argue about whether the phone was in your hand or not, as opposed to arguing, well, it was in my hand, but I wasn't touching it with my thumb. So I just think this bill's even better on that kind of problem.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Obenchain.
Yeah, and when I first got here, people were concerned, I hear Senator Spruill and what you're saying, but and you're probably right. However, when I first got here, people were concerned about adding additional reasons and giving additional pretexts. And if you want to make this clear and you want to make it more pure, you just take that out. I mean, that's what I thought that you were after last year was just a bright line. I mean, if you are touching a phone while your vehicle is in operation, then you're in violation of it.
Senator Servo?
I think that's what the bill says. It says you can't hold a phone while driving a moving vehicle. So
while driving a moving,
except at a stoplight or stop sign or a yield sign or
under your bill, Senator Servo, I think Senator
how about
Obenchain is
this?
pointing out.
How about on Interstate 66 in Prince William County on pretty much any morning when I have my brake applied and the traffic is stopped? You're saying under this bill I can I can do all the texting I want,
sort of,
as long as I don't let my foot off of the brake?
I would just point out to the gentleman right now that's a construction zone. And that's already illegal. This bill applies to construction zones because Senator Mason passed that last year. But
I think Senator Obenchain's point is that in any
Fairfax
heavy
County, well, it's all a construction zone.
I believe that Senator Obenchain's point is that in any high traffic volume situation where you're in stop and go traffic, at some point in time, this would allow you on an interstate, if you happen to come to a full stop for a brief few seconds, that you would be allowed to use your phone. And then if you were still holding it, once you started moving again, you'd be in violation, but not when you're absolutely dead still. Is that correct?
I was only operating it while my foot was on the brake.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Spruill.
I'm hoping, sir, that you could heed to that, because I don't want the police department to use any excuse, and he is right on this particular case. If you could remove that, because I could say that when we stopped that I had it in my hand, and he could say something different. And you can't argue with him. I mean, you're saying, well, I wasn't calling, I wasn't texting, I just had it in my hand. And he said something different. If you remove it all together, that's it. But as far as an excuse, when it comes to black folks, they don't have to have no excuse. They find an excuse anyway. So I'm hoping that you can remove that particular one, because that would be very helpful. I appreciate the senator on that one. He is very right on that one. I don't want to give them any kind of excuse to say what I was doing. I'm saying I'm just holding the phone. I was not doing.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure. I think Senator Spruill, you might be Mr. Chairman, Senator Spruill might be getting caught up in missing the point. So, right now under this bill, if the phone is in your hand and the car is moving, you can get stopped. If the phone's not in your hand while you're moving, they're not supposed to stop you. If the car is stopped, not moving, you can do anything you want.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Spruill.
The question raised, a lot of times the car is stopped and it's still running, but it's stopped, and you got the phone in your hand.
That's okay.
Okay, but that's the key. I mean, that's okay, but I don't want to get the police to say to me that it was moving because it was running. And so if that could help, I'm trying to figure out what difference that few seconds that the car is stopped. Why would you want to have it in your hand to do anything at all?
Mr.
That
Chair.
few seconds.
Mr. Chair.
So, wait a minute. Don't cut me off, Sister
Sorry,
Girl,
I thought you were
please.
finished.
My concern was I don't want the police department having any excuse to tell me what I was doing with my phone, even though it was stopped. You said it's not moving. I understand that. I don't want him to tell me that I was moving.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Spruill. Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So here's why this matters, is because if you're not able to use the car, have the phone in your hand at all, but you may be using your GPS, and we took the GPS exception out. It is not uncommon if someone is stopped and they're using the GPS function, even though the voice is telling you when to turn, you may pick it up to see how far do I have before I have to turn. Or you may, pick it up to see you got a missed call. We have to pass laws that we know people will comply with. And I think the current law is when you are stopped, you can look at it. If we take that out altogether, we are setting up a lot of Virginians to violate the law. And the police are going to already have, as we've already discussed, if they want to find something to pull somebody over for, they're going to do that anyway. But we shouldn't put a law in place knowing that we're setting up a lot of people to violate it, when what we're trying to do is say, don't look at it while you're driving for a safety measure, which we all agree with, I think. But if you are not moving, what is the safety measure in not looking at it? For that minute it takes. Yeah, what's the safety risk if I'm at a stop sign, I'm not moving, I'm at a light, just looking at it and putting it down?
I agree with this. So, thank you. I agree with that.
Mr. Chairman.
So Senator McClellan, what you're saying is leaving it as is takes care of that problem. Senator Boyska.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with that.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I just wanted to raise the attention to everyone that with the council that Senator Searle is proposing, they will be reviewing whether enforcement has disproportionately impacted minority or low-income populations. So I am encouraged that he's added this because it will be more of a check and balance on that concern for us.
I think that I agree with Senator Obenshain on the issue of when you're stopped, you're able to do something because you stop, then you move again, and what have you. Gets complicated. I'd prefer, operating the vehicle, but that means, I think, under state law, if you pulled over to the side of the road with the engine on because you're trying to be responsible and make your call, you'd be violating the law.
You would be.
And so with that caveat, I like your bill better than somebody being gigged for doing the responsible thing. So I'd be inclined to vote for the bill as is. Would you, could we, before we bring up our witnesses, can we bring Senator Kiggins up, who has a much narrower version of this bill? And
thank you, Mr.
Senator
Chair.
Kiggins, could you present your bill, please? What's the number?
Yes. So my bill is Senate Bill 932, and it is a much narrower scope, as you stated, and it simply prohibits the use of handheld personal communication devices in school zones, and that carries a $250 fine for that. So it's only restrictive within the school zone area.
Okay, very, very good. At this point in time, Senator Serval, I believe you have, thank you, Senator Kiggins. Did you have anyone, Senator Kiggins, that you wanted to? Okay, Senator Serval, if you could briefly have your witnesses come forward to state their support or for anyone who's against the bill. Hi.
Hi. My name is Meredith Speece. I'm a resident of Chesterfield County. My mother, Karen Giles, was a resident of Amelia County. She was a 30-year volunteer at the fire department as a firefighter and an EMT. She dedicated her life to this state. She not only received numerous educational courses to help protect the state of Virginia, but she was an instructor as well to share her knowledge. Less than a year ago, she was driving down Genito Road to visit family using a hands-free device on her own phone when a man driving a dump truck who was texting and driving a moving vehicle veered off the road and overcorrected, killing her instantly and flipping her car over into the ditch. I think that this hands-free bill is important because it will help change the behavior. There needs to be some sort of deterrent in place that encourages people to put down their phones and can combat this epidemic of texting and driving in the state of Virginia. The only way that the man who killed my mother was convicted was because while using a hands-free device, my mother was leaving a voicemail for a colleague. In the exact moment of her death was recorded in a voicemail. There have been many other families who have gone without justice in this state when they have been killed by people using their phones and driving because of the vague interpretation of the existing laws. I believe this bill will help get convictions and help law enforcement to be able to really enforce the hands-free legislation.
Thank you so much, and I'm so sorry for your loss. We have a lot of work to do. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Dana Schraub for the Virginia Association of Chiefs of Police. You'll note that we're actually mentioning the bill. I won't go into a lot of testimony about how serious the problem is with texting while driving and how it contributes to injuries and fatalities on our roads. But I will say this. As an organization, we're very much committed to providing the training for our law enforcement so that they have a good understanding of how best to enforce this law. Everything we hear from them right now is the subjectivity in the current statute leaves them ill-prepared to enforce this law without having to subpoena the records from the cell phones to actually prove the activity. We don't actually want to invade people's privacy. We want to save lives. So we're committed to the training, and we support this bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Chris Legault for Nationwide Insurance and the American Property Casualty Insurance Association, both of whom are fully supportive of this bill. Personally, I want to tell you, I'm reminded every day of the risk of loss associated with driving while texting or holding the cell phone in your hand. I was rear-ended by a tractor trailer, fully loaded tractor trailer, whose driver was on his phone at the time, left me with a fused spine, reduced range of motion in my back and neck, and neurological deficits in both hands. The accident could have been much worse. I might not have been standing here, but I can tell you that it could have also been avoided without the use of that phone in his hand, without the distraction of it. So appreciate your consideration of this good bill.
Mr. Chairman, Jackie Stone on behalf of State Farm, and we join in support of this important safety measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Jackie.
Bob Bradshaw with the Virginia Association of Independent Insurance Agents of Virginia, representing a vast majority of the property casualty agents, and we fully support the bill.
Thank you, Bob.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Martha Mead, and I represent AAA. Less than a year ago, we surveyed Virginia drivers and found that nearly two-thirds of them support expanding the current law to prohibit handheld devices while driving, not just in work zones. 93% are concerned about their safety due to others being distracted by electronic devices. Yet, new research by AAA found that nationally, even though 97% of drivers say that texting or emailing while driving is a serious threat to their safety, 45% of those same people admit to having done it in the last 30 days. There's a clear disconnect. Drivers are afraid of other drivers using handheld devices, yet they continue to do it. Currently in Virginia, only 18%, according to our survey just last March, report using hands-free technology. Virginia needs this law. AAA urges lawmakers to take action this year and not look in the rearview mirror again next year at the treasured lives that were lost at the hands of distracted drivers. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is David Mitchell. I'm General Counsel for the Richmond Police Department here on behalf of Chief William Smith, who wishes he could be here to speak to you today. And the Richmond Police Department is in full support of the entire bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Kelly Suling with Geico. We support the bill.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Janet Brooking with Drive Smart Virginia. We have been working with a group of 100 different entities over several years to move this measure forward. It's the Virginia Partners for Safe Driving, so we absolutely stand in strong support. We were also asked to provide an educational component when this bill passes to educate the public, and we remain committed to doing so. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dave Westcott with Prince William County. We certainly appreciate Senator Servell bringing this up. Our board unanimously supports this bill, and so does our board. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Servell, before we move on, we need to have a vote on rolling Senator Stewart's 136 into your 160. Do I have a motion on that?
So moved.
That's Senator Stewart's. We have to do them separately. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, excuse me. Here we go.
Scott, I need that. Okay.
I'm up here. All right, sorry.
Here we go.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. 136 is rolled into 160. Now we have to do Senator Saslaw's bill, Senate Bill 944, to also roll into Senate Bill 160. Do you have a second? Have a motion to second. Could you open the roll? There we go. All
Ayes
right.
15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. Senator Saslaw's bill is also rolled in. Senator Servell, anything else you want to say? I think it's been pretty well covered.
No, I think everybody knows this bill. It's been out for a long time. But as Senator Wagner said last year, I think this is one of the few bills that we can pass that will actually save some lives over the next few years.
Thank you. Do we have a motion on the bill?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to report. Could we open the vote? All in favor vote aye. Opposed, nay.
Ayes 12, noes 3.
Ayes 12, noes 3. The bill passes. Thank you, Senator Servell. Do we have a motion on Senator Kiggin's bill?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. Senator DeSteph would like to move report of Senator Kiggin's bill.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Senator Cosgrove.
Since Senator Kiggin's bill is basically incorporated into Senator Servell's bill, a separate action on hers, it's not? No, I know we didn't. No, I didn't say roll it into it, okay? I'm just saying that her bill would then become moot. So with the passage of Senator Servell's bill, with the other two bills rolled into it, it'd be a motion to PBI.
I believe that's correct.
No.
Senator Suderman.
The Senate has passed legislation dealing with the same code sections, 3 bills on the same code section in previous years. There's nothing to stop the Senate that I can locate, and if someone can point to it, I'm happy to be corrected. But I believe that it's completely in order for the Senate to advance both vehicles if we believe in both vehicles. And that's why I renew the motion that Senator DeSteph moves report of Senator Kiggin's bill and Senator Peake seconds that motion. And I believe it's entirely appropriate because if the House, thank you, or the governor disagreed and only liked Senator Kiggin's bill, it would still be the vehicle before them.
Thank you.
I think it's entirely appropriate.
Senator Oberchain, did you?
No, I was just going to say the same thing. I mean, if this were to go through the process and in the unlikely event it were to get derailed, Senator Kiggin's bill were to survive the whole process, it would become the law. It's not inconsistent in any way with this.
Mr. Chairman, I would withdraw my motion to PBI.
Thank you. So we have a motion to pass the bill. Please open the rolls for vote aye if you approve, nay if you don't.
Ayes 12, noes 3.
Ayes 12, no 3. Senator Kiggins, there you go. All right. Senator Servell, thank you. Senator Edwards.
I have 2 others.
Why don't you get over? Your committee meeting started. Let's get you over there. And Senator Edwards has been waiting patiently.
That's fine.
So we'll haul you back here towards the end of the show.
I will defer to the third most senior member and committee chairman in our caucus.
There you go. My apologies, Senator Edwards. We were trying to get him over to your committee, but he just had too many bills. Who would know?
Yeah. Can you imagine? Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Senate Bill 473 is a bill that makes it so that if you are a tow truck with an amber light and you don't pull over and you create a problem, it's only a misdemeanor. It's only a infraction. On the other hand, if you are the police and you have a blue or red light EMS that's flashing, and you pull somebody over the side of the road for an accident or whatever reason, you're required to pull over. What this bill does is just simply say a flashing amber light is being treated the same as a flashing red or blue light, and becomes a reckless driving, a Class 1 misdemeanor. Because tow truck drivers face the exact same danger as the police and EMS when clearing the roadways and assisting citizens of Virginia. And so we want to make sure that they're treated the same, that an amber light is treated the same as a red or blue light, so that because tow truck drivers have been injured and killed on the highways of Virginia, just like police and EMS personnel. So all this does is conform the tow truck drivers with the amber lights to the flashing blue and red lights of the police and EMS.
Senator Edwards, what vehicles are allowed to use the amber light? I know that the tow trucks, and I know that the VDOT motor,
Mr. Pickrell can explain.
the assist folks from VDOT are allowed to do it.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, James Pickrell with the Virginia Association of Towing and Recovery Operators. The way the bill is drawn, only tow truck drivers and highway maintenance and construction workers would be affected by this bill.
How about the VDOT folks who have amber lights that pull over to help drivers? Would they be covered under the bill?
I believe under A2, it is only those engaged in construction or maintenance of the highway.
So the VDOT driver who pulls over to help somebody with an amber light would not be covered under this bill?
I'm not certain that they would, though they may. I know for certain tow truck drivers and highway and construction workers are.
Could I ask staff to weigh in on that as to, she's looking right now. Is VDOT in the room? Could they help us out with?
Mr. Chair?
Senator McClellan?
So the way the bill is drafted, it pulls in not everyone who can use flashing amber lights. The way the bill is drafted, it only pulls in vehicles used for principal purpose of towing or servicing disabled vehicles, which is 46.2-1025A1, and then A2, which is vehicles used in constructing, maintaining, and repairing highways or utilities or along public highways, or in assisting with the management of roadside and traffic incidents, or performing traffic management services along the public highways. There are about 20-some other type of vehicles that can use amber lights, but the bill only incorporates by reference those first two.
Thank you, Senator McClellan. I think from what I heard you say is that the VDOT driver assistance folks would be covered?
Senator Marsden, I'm told that they are covered.
They are covered. Thank you. All right. Any questions of the patron? Those who would like to step up in favor of the bill?
Again, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, James Pickrell with the Virginia Association of Towing and Recovery Operators. I would just like you to remember that the side of the interstate highway is a very dangerous place. We recognize that for our state troopers and other law enforcement officials. We recognize that for our emergency service workers. The men and women who keep our highways clear, pull the disabled vehicles of our families off the interstate highway shoulder, and those engaged in construction and maintenance of the roadway are in the exact same danger as our state troopers, other police officials, and emergency services, and we would ask you to extend the same protections and courtesies to them also. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak in favor of the bill?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Bruce Eagle, and I am with Eagle Towing in Chesterfield, Virginia. This bill is a very important issue to thousands of working men and women across Virginia. So far this month, there have been several struck-by incidents on Virginia roadways already. We are in the same dangerous positions as our local law enforcement, fire and EMS on the sides of the interstates, except they have the advantage of the red and blue warning lights. This bill will help with that. My wife has already planned vacation for next year, and I would like to go on that vacation. This bill will help ensure that I get to be a part of that. When I get home from work, and I walk up to my house, I open my front door, and I hear my 5-year-old screaming, "Daddy!" This bill will help ensure that my child does not grow up without a father. I have had one of my employees struck on 288. We have several association members that have had serious struck by incidents of their tow operators assisting Virginia motorists on the interstates. If this bill will save one life, it's worth it. I've been a part of many public service announcements across Virginia for the Move Over law. And if it's passed, it will continue to be our job to educate the public on the safeties of the highway and making sure they're aware of this law. On behalf of the Virginia Towing and Recovery Operators Association, we support this bill.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Floyd Mays. I live at 702 Wales Drive in Henrico, Virginia, and I am absolutely in support of the bill for all the reasons that Bruce Eagle just mentioned, but there's another side to this. When these gentlemen with the tow trucks and the VDOT assisting motorists, the motorists are there. They're subject to the same risk that the tow operators are subject to. And of course, they're not, maybe they're getting help with changing tires and such, but it's really, it's really tough. I'm not going to take too much time. Just one quick story. I had a flat tire on 64 East. Traffic, 70 miles an hour, right? I pull over, I've got a spare. I open my door, and I said, oh my God, no way. I'm not going to change this tire. I mean, it was, honestly, that was my first experience of the reality of how fast traffic is moving when I'm sitting still in it and have to get out of my car. We really need this bill passed to, it'll be much better. It's going to improve safety on the highways. Virginia,
Thank you very much.
Tourism. Thank you.
Mr. Benka.
Mr. Chairman, Matt Bentke with the Northern Virginia Towers Association. What we do for a living is extremely dangerous, and we do it on behalf of the citizens of Virginia and at the request of public safety officials. And it's just, it couldn't be more important. So we just thank you for your support for the bill.
Thank you. Eric.
Mr. Chairman, Eric Fly, Hampton Roads Towing Alliance. Just want to share one piece of information. We track near misses and hits in Tidewater. In 2017, we had 57 drivers nearly struck, which means that they did not take evasive action, they would have been hit. In 2018, we had 65 drivers that were almost struck. So there is a need, and we appreciate the bill.
Thank you. Senator Edwards, I attended what's called a TIM conference, Traffic Incident Management. There's a national conference at the Navy Yard in Washington, D.C., and 90% of incident management dealt with the Move Over law in other states. It is resonating everywhere in the country, and I think this is a good public safety measure. Any questions of the patron? We have a motion on the bill.
Mr. Chairman, I move to report.
We have a motion and a second to report. Could you let's open the rolls. And, excuse me, could...
My motion includes a re-refer to finance.
Motion includes a re-refer to finance. All in favor?
Need to vote for Frivola.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6. The bill passes. Thank you, Senator Edwards.
Thank you, Senator Edwards.
Bill's off to finance.
Good. Thank you. Senate Bill 972 deals with the state police. In the last week, we've seen the importance of the Virginia State Police, along with our Capitol Police, in protecting every single one of us. These are the Virginia's finest, both on the highway and protects us, also in terms of criminal law. And I've worked with them over the years when I was United States Attorney. I worked closely with them. Mr. President, they're underpaid. Everybody knows this. And this is a way to get the pay up. What it does is to create a public safety trust fund, a brand new trust fund, a non-reverting trust fund, to be funded by a registration fee on each pickup or panel truck and each motor vehicle over a period of 10 years, $1.25 increase in registration fee starting in July 1, 2020, and ending in July 1, 2029, $1.25 each year to go from $1.25 per year until $12.50 on July 1, 2029. And the funds will be used solely for the purpose of addressing staffing, retention, and pay suppression issues of the Department of State Police, subject to appropriation. This is one way we can try to help the pay issue with regard to the state police. They're underfunded. What's happening is they're being trained, and they get out of the training school, and next thing you know, in a few months, they decide to go somewhere else because they have higher pay. We train them and spend a lot of money training our state police, and then they end up going somewhere else because of pay.
Mr. Chairman.
This
Thank
is
you.
just one
Thank
way
you,
to solve
Senator
the problem.
Edwards. Senator Sproul.
I'm trying to find out this 125 you're talking about. Is this going towards paying to supplement their salary?
Yes, a public safety trust fund to deal with the staffing, retention, and pay suppression. That's right, salaries.
You gave
Senator
me a
Sproul.
lawyer's answer, Mr. Chairman. I don't understand. That's the lawyer's answer. I'm saying I know they are underpaid. I'm for that. But I'm saying, but by collecting this, what I'm saying, so let's say, for example, in my term, say if they make $200 a week, it's my term, and so this fund be used to make sure that they get $225 a week.
Well, the fund is to collect from registration fees $1.25 each year, and it goes up.
Senator
over
Sproul,
10 years.
I think we have a couple things here. We have some line amendments that we need to adopt, but
Okay.
I don't think we're dealing with a policy matter today, if I'm not mistaken, and bill has to be referred to finance, and how this might be used and who might be authorized to do things would be determined in the Finance Committee. Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Edwards, I'm looking at the language of the bill, and I know we have other amendments to make, but is there anywhere in this bill that says this money must be used for pay raises for our state troopers?
Yes, it says the funds shall be used solely, the bottom of page, was a couple of places actually, on page 3 and also the bottom of page 5. The funds shall be used solely for the purposes of addressing staffing, retention, and pay suppression issues of the Department of State Police. In other words, pay.
Mr. Chairman, I got my answer from a non-lawyer. Thank you so much, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question for the patron.
Oh, okay. Would it be okay if we suspended for just a moment to adopt these floor
Sure.
amendments?
Mr. Chairman, I move the adoption of the amendments.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Lisa, could you report the floor amendments?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I just distributed them around, but they were a request from the Department of Motor Vehicles to allow them to recoup their costs associated with administering the program.
Mr. Chairman, before you adopt that, Wayne Huggins would like to say a word or two. I think there's a little dispute here between DMV and the state police on this issue.
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
Wayne, welcome.
This is not a new bill. This bill has been before you before. As a matter of fact, in 2016, I believe it was, the Senate adopted this bill by a vote of 35-4. This is an effort that Senator Carrico championed for several years. Our problems couldn't be solved through the general fund, so he came up with this mechanism to try to address our problems through a special fund. I spoke with Commissioner Holcomb, and I think he's probably standing here behind me, and I'll let him speak for himself, but he told Delegate Bagby is carrying the companion bill, and he and Delegate Bagby and I have been speaking, and according to the commissioner, I think he's quote-unquote sharpening his pencil, and so maybe that pencil has been sharpened over the last couple of hours.
Mr. Chairman, Rick Holcomb, DMV Commissioner, we have no position on the underlying bill, but as you know, DMV is a special fund. Of every dollar we collect, we keep only 9 cents. And I'm happy that this would raise so much money for state police, but we need to cover our costs in collecting that additional money. The first year, our cost would be $121,000. The last year, our cost would be $1.4 million. So I'm just asking, and the cost is, first of all, as you all know, the General Assembly has mandated that we pay the service charge on any credit card. 88% of our registration fees are paid by credit card. That's a 2% charge to us. Also, we've got 55 DMV selects, and we pay them 4.5% of every dollar they collect. This will be a whole lot more dollars that they're collecting, and we will be paying them more as a result of that.
So this is a robbing Peter to pay Paul?
I wouldn't say that, but I would echo what Wayne has said. We did have a good conversation with Senator Bagby this morning. We've not had a chance to talk to Senator Edwards. We will sharpen our pen, and the amendments, which we do hope that you all adopt, to send a signal to the Finance Committee that we do need to be made whole. I'm sure that there will be amendments to those amendments in Finance where we come up with a different figure. But we're just pleading with you, let us recover our costs in collecting this additional money.
Okay, thank you. Lisa, could you report the amendments? Because I'm confused with where it refers to the expenses of the department. Is that the DMV piece? And we're not talking about the Department of State Police because that would, that's clearly, that's where the bulk of the money is designed to go. These amendments just deal with the proportion you need to stay whole in terms of your obligation. So, Lisa, could you please report the line amendments?
Yes, sir. They're number 1 and number 3 are technical to get things lined up, but the meat of it is amendment number 2 would be prior to July 1, 25 cents from each fee collected pursuant to this section would be paid into the state treasury and set aside as a special fund to be used to meet the expenses of the department. Where this is drafted in Title 46.2, department is defined as DMV. And then on and after July 1, 2025, 50 cents from each fee collected would be set aside to be used to meet the expenses of the department.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Spruill.
So the money that going to DMV, where is that money coming from?
Mr. Chairman, Senator, that would be, as I said, the first year that we collect, we would withhold out of what we collect for state police our expenses.
I think what we're trying to get at here is the fact that we do not want this beneficial financing mechanism for state police salaries to harm the Department of Motor Vehicles, who are going to have to administer this fund, and they are doing nothing more than asking for the traditional amount of money that they normally receive in these kinds of operations, and I think that's appropriate. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, wait a minute. Mr. Chairman, I'm looking out for the consumer. I don't want the DMV to take advantage of the customer either, because I agree with the report from state police, and I'm trying to figure out why would it cost them the DMV 25 cents, whatever, and then over a period of time, $1 million to do this. Then after this time is up, then will it stop? He was saying to me for a certain time, for this year to ever how many years he was talking about, then will it stop? Will you reduce that from the customer? Will we get that money back, or will you stop collecting money from the customer?
Mr. Chairman, it's the customer who's paying $1.25 more for registration, then that keeps compounding up through 2029. What we're saying is, as part of that $1.25 that the customer is paying, we will keep our costs. Our cost, again, when someone charges that registration fee to a credit card, we have to pay the bank. The customer doesn't pay that fee. We pay 2% of whatever they charge. And then also, if a DMV Select is collecting that money for us, we're paying them to collect that. We just want to be made whole. The customer's not paying anything extra to DMV.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator Favola.
Have we used this fund continually and for other public safety purposes? Because the issue before the committee is a general conceptual agreement and then re-refer to finance.
There is no such fund that currently exists. This would be
This
a
is
new
a
fund.
whole new fund.
Yes.
And it would only be for the state police. Would be probably the first earmark for salaries we have seen. Maybe
It's the
that's
first
not a
one
quick.
I'm aware of. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that it's the only one, but it certainly is the only one I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Can I
Senator
speak to
Cosgrove.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I just have to say that, when Commissioner Holcomb was talking, it keeps 9 cents per dollar, 9%, okay? But what he's talking about here is a 20% retention from the dollar, keeping a quarter from the dollar and the quarter fee. Now, I can ask the Commissioner, is my math correct, my arithmetic?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Cosgrove, you are correct, and that's why the conversation we had this morning, I believe what we're going to do is we're going to do a weighted percentage between the 2%, which we pay for the credit card, and 4.5% that we pay to the SLEX. So we'll come up with a percentage that will be less than 25 cents.
Is that currently in the amendments?
Mr. Chairman, it's not. We just had this conversation this morning. We're in the process of drafting that. These amendments would at least send the signal to the Finance Committee that the DMV costs need to be covered. We will promise the patron that he will have the amended amendment before he appears before Finance.
Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to support the amendments. Basically, we're telling Finance and Appropriations how to do their job. I truly believe that of $100+ billion budget, we can find the money to offset. So these troopers are going to get the money that is set aside for them. I mean, this is critical.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Suderline.
I appreciate Senator Favola's comments. I think she's the one other person that has been asking if we ought to do this before we say, how are we going to do it? I remember when Senator Carrico brought this legislation, and I said, does anyone not agree that state police is a primary function of government? Is that not what we pay our state income taxes and state sales tax for that funds the general fund? And there seemed to be a lot of folks that said that they agreed, but the bill advanced. The House said, no, we agree, in fact, that this should come out of the general fund. And then 2 years later, there was a pay increase that was rather substantial because we decided it was a priority for state government. Now what we're doing is, again, last year there was a registration fee increase that was a set aside, now or inspection set aside. Now we're talking about doing a registration, and I think that I don't know what we pay taxes for, if not the very first thing is for our state police. That's where our state taxes, I think the first dollar would be allocated for public safety. And that was shown by what we did a few years ago with the pay increase through the budget. And I'm a little worried that, other than Senator Favola, we're just talking about how we would pass this bill rather than if we even ought to. And I don't think this is the way we ought to be doing it. So I was going to ask Senator Edwards, don't you agree that this is something that ought to be done through the general fund?
Yes, but it may not be. That's the problem.
But we just did it.
Well, I tell you what, let's, in the interest of time here,
I'm going to make a motion.
I would say that, just a moment, is that maybe the best course of action, and would take a motion here in a moment, is that we do not seem to have an accurate amendment here. So let's take the bill by for a week to refine these amendments, and we can resume our debate on whether this is a good idea to do or not. Senator Favola.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your graciousness. I, however, think that this is a concept that would be better determined by finance, and I am prepared to just make a motion to re-refer to finance without any guidance as to whether it's a good idea or bad idea, because I feel if we open up the door to this, the constitutional officers will come forward, sheriffs will come forward, everybody will want their own dedicated source of revenue to ensure they get salaries every year, salary increases.
Senator Favola, I don't want to dump the policy issue 100% on the Finance Committee. They're going to have to work on the details of this bill. So I would rather pass it by for the day, and we'll have another brief discussion on the bill. We'll refine the amendments to get that accurate. And as Senator Cosgrove grew up, Senator Holcomb can continue to work, or excuse me, Commissioner Holcomb can continue to work on this with the patron, and hopefully we can deal with things briefly and then send it to finance to let them review whether this is an appropriate way to raise money for the state police.
All
But
right.
I think the policy issue, we need to at least get that part out of here.
Would you entertain another motion?
Yes.
You are allowed to make one.
I'm going to move that we PBI the bill.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to PBI the bill.
Please don't.
Open the rolls. Does someone have Senator Servell's?
Ayes 9, noes 5.
Ayes 9, no 5.
Mr.
Nays
Chairman, with
5.
all due respect, I didn't even get to testify on the merits of the bill, why we need it. You don't know the crisis that we're experiencing right now, and it's a crisis.
I understand. But the motion's been made, seconded, and passed by the committee. Thank you, Senator Edwards.
We may be back asking for reconsideration.
Certainly.
Okay.
All right. Senator Ruff, you still with us?
Mr. Chairman, you had Senator Lucas been sitting here since Ruff got here. So
I'm sorry?
Senator Lucas been sitting here before he got here.
He is in the queue on my magic machine up here.
A queue is fine, but she been sitting here in live living color.
I was here before that, but that's beside the point.
Senator Ruff was here earlier, and he was told by staff that he could leave for a short period of time. So I believe he is in order and in the queue appropriately.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
Ruff.
This deals with rebuilt vehicles and the resale of them. Current law allows vehicles that have been declared total to be rebuilt. After they are rebuilt, they must be inspected by a state inspection for safety. And at that time, DMV is called to send one of the state officers to come. The officers come to look for stolen parts. They don't look at the car at all. They just ask for the file on that particular vehicle. And if it was bought from a legitimate source, they just sign off and they're gone. Understand the timeline. You buy the total car, you buy the parts, you pay for the labor, and the problem is we don't have enough state inspectors, so it takes several weeks for them to come and inspect. So then you've got a lot of time and a lot of money tied up in it. What the bill does is that if you've got a reputable rebuilder who's been in the business for 10 years, and the value of the car is under $10,000, which means it's an older car, then they could go ahead and sell it, but not on newer cars, not on vintage cars, not on cars that have higher values than that. Then they could, those would have to be held and it'd be done the same way. What this would do would get a lot of the lower valued cars out of the way so the inspectors would have more time to focus on cars that deal with stolen parts.
Thank you, Senator Ruff. Any questions for the patron from the committee? Do we have anyone here who's in favor of the bill? Anyone here opposed to the bill? I have a motion to that the bill pass. Do we have a second? We have a second. Open the rolls. All in favor say aye. Vote aye. Those opposed vote nay. Do I have, let's see, I do. Excuse me. Got it.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Thank you.
Ayes 10, noes 5. You have your bill, Senator Ruff. I believe Senator Lucas.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Peterson.
Just one moment, Senator Suderline.
Briefly, I know it doesn't affect the outcome, but can Senator Ruff's vote be flipped? Or no, can Senator Peake's vote be flipped on the previous one to a no?
Can we do that?
You.
That good? Thank you, Senator Suderline. Senator Lucas, what do you have
Thank
for
you,
us?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I have Senate Bill 32028. And Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee, the purpose of this bill is to overcome inconsistent truck weight enforcement challenges in a Virginia locality where the city does not recognize applications of the Virginia Forest Products Truck Weight Permit for pre-processed residual wood pellet loads. These loads are typically transported by truck from pellet plants in Virginia and North Carolina to Virginia port facilities for export. This bill, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, will list wood pellets as residuals in the definition of forest products found in our code, section code 46.2, reaffirming statewide application of the forest products truck weight permit to wood pellet truck loads. I know that's a mouthful, but I hope you understood what I said.
Thank you. Anything else, Senator Lucas, on the bill?
I can keep reading if you like. The bill does not expand the scope of the forest product truck weight permit. It simply reaffirms state highway law and reinforcement, recognition of residual wood products in a pre-use state, including wood pellets, as qualifying for that permit.
Senator Lucas, I have one question. In going over this bill, a lot of the things that we've allowed overweight permits for, like coal, logging trucks coming out of the field, if you will. In this situation, I understand that, we could have an overweight vehicle of wood coming out of the forest. However, once it's delivered to the processing plant or the manufacturing plant where it's turned into pellets, then we're in a situation where, just like anything coming out of a manufacturing facility, whether it's cans of soup or tires or paper towels, they're not allowed to be on the highways if they're in an overweight situation. So it seems to me there might be a difference here. Even though the product is from the forest, it has made it to the manufacturing facility and has now been bagged and is being shipped out to the retailers, just like many, many other manufactured products. And I'm thinking it might be a little bit problematic to exclude them just because it started in the forest and we were allowed to do overweight to the manufacturing facility. But once it's processed and what have you, that I'm not sure of the appropriateness of allowing for that to take place.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Senator Lucas.
I was going to say, Mr. Chairman, I have an expert here who can explain to you the exact situation that they are experiencing.
Okay.
But I think,
might give you a better
before
understanding.
before we go on, I think I can speak to the point you were making. If you look at line 13 of the bill, it says, for purposes of this section, forest products means raw logs to market, rough sawn green lumber, and wood residuals, including wood chips, sawdust, mulch, and tree bark. Now, mulch is a manufactured product. There was once wood, now it's manufactured mulch, and it's covered under this. I don't see why wood pellets shouldn't be either.
Wouldn't that, Senator Cosgrove, wouldn't that be processed on the site where the logging took place necessarily? Or
No, sir.
it would be taken someplace and processed?
Usually, yes, sir.
So, essentially what we're talking about here, even though this stuff is being, bagged someplace, it's not in a bulk quantity, it's been
Actually,
bagged
Mr.
and
Chairman,
sent out.
in this instance, it is in a bulk quantity because this is a major export out of the Port of Hampton Roads.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Senator Obenshain promised me that we wouldn't have any mulch bills this year. This appears to be a mulch bill. I got to vote against it.
Could you bring up, Senator Lucas, could you
Yes.
bring up your expert, please? Hi, could you tell us who you are?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Paul Howe, and I'm here today representing Enviva. And Enviva is probably the largest producer of biomass energy in the country. They have a plant in Senator Lucas's district. They haul pellets from there to a port facility they own. It's in Senator Cosgrove's district and two in North Carolina. So one thing I would like to explain is these pellets aren't bagged. This is not for commercial, domestic. They're not going to Lowe's and Home Depots or other stores for sale. They're put in this intermediate form, pelletized, just for shipping. They get to this port facility, they're rough loaded and hauled all around the world. So they do fit in with the definition of the other things that Senator Cosgrove mentioned, this of wood chips, mulch, but none of this is bagged in a ready-to-use. They're not going to a commercial outlet at that point when they're hauled from the plants to the port facility.
Well, that was my miscalculation,
Yes,
is
sir.
that I assumed that when we allowed this for things coming out of the forest, that's when you could overload. But once they've been processed and then replaced on a truck, then the rules changed, and you had to comply with the
Mr. Chairman,
with
if
the
I-
way
if I-
Senator Cosgrove.
If I might, sawdust doesn't come out of the forest, really, not in this type of multitude. At the risk of mentioning mulch again, I'll just say that is a manufactured product. So you're looking at wood residuals, rough sawn green lumber. I mean, these are all forest products. I don't see where wood pellets is different.
I stand reinformed. Thank you, sir.
Can I mention just
something else?
one other
Yes.
thing very quickly, just to reiterate? The state, through the Department of Motor Vehicles, has been issuing permits for this product since the forest products truck weight law permit was passed. Senator Cosgrove was a patron of that back in 2015. So nothing that we're doing here is going to add extra permits. If Inviva and other companies that make these pellets can't use this permit, then they're going to have to go back to lower weights, and their calculation is it's going to add some 10,000 loads of trucks in southeast Virginia heading to the port. And
What kind of overweight situation are you looking at here? How many pounds is it?
With this permit, on a gross weight, they can haul up to 90,000 pounds. Our experience has been that they don't do that, nor do the other folks who take advantage of the permit. And another important point is North Carolina already allows, through their permit, which is very similar, the use of hauling a permit to haul 90,000 pounds. Okay. So they'd be at a very competitive disadvantage if they're hauling 90,000 with a legal permit in North Carolina and can haul 90,000 legally everywhere in Virginia except in this one locality.
Yeah. I assume that there is a locality objecting, but we'll hear for anyone else in favor of the bill.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I'm Ron Jenkins, Virginia Loggers Association. Our members have been estimated by Virginia Tech to harvest approximately 50% to 65% of Virginia's harvest. And I've been asked by our board to come today and extend the gratitude and appreciation for when the original bill was approved by this body. And I've been told it's the greatest thing that has happened to the forest harvesting sector since sliced bread, more or less. And you get the point. They were really pleased, and they want what you all have done for them to not go unnoticed. We do appreciate that.
Thank you,
we do
sir.
believe that pellets, like rough sawn green lumber, there are a lot of products that do come from our forest. And believe it or not, because of technology, forest harvesters are able to do a lot more in the woods than you may have known in the past. So that's why we had rough sawn green lumber. We think pellets is just another form of a chip. I'm not the expert on that, but it has to be kind of dried and made dense to be hauled overseas for the most part. So we do support Senate Bill 328, and we think it would be a great advantage to the industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Chair, Kyle Shreve, Virginia Agribusiness Council. I just want to associate myself with the comments made by Mr. Howe. We are just clarifying existing practice. We support the bill and thank Senator Lucas.
Thank you.
Hello, Katie Hellebush, representing the Virginia Forestry Association. I want to align myself with comments made previously. And Susan Seward with the Virginia Forest Products Association is on her way, and she wanted me to mention that she's in support as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Senator Lucas, there must be a complaining witness here somewhere. Is there anyone who is opposed to the bill who feels that this is not appropriate policy?
Move to
They're being,
report.
they're being stared down. We have a motion and a second to report the bill. All in favor, open the roll. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the committee. I appreciate it very much. And I do want to thank all of these supporters very much.
All right. Thank you now. Senator Peterson. Next to last. That's.
Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, this is Senate Bill 417, and this has to do with the revenues coming from I think it was the Senate Bill 2313 that we passed years ago, and how that money is used at the local level. As you'll remember, the members of the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority, of which I represent three of them actually, Town of Vienna, Fairfax City, and Fairfax County. The question becomes how they can use their locality share. Fairfax City and the Town of Vienna are fully built out, so there's really no road projects, so to speak, and you have to use new projects. You can't use ongoing maintenance. So the question then becomes, well, how can they use the money? And one of the ways that we've asked is for new sidewalk projects. And I will not deceive you all. This has been a bill that's been sort of an oldie but goodie that's come before you all before. Never quite got past the committee level, but.
Senator Peterson,
Yeah.
so this sidewalk projects could get people safely to transit sites such as bus stops.
Yeah, if that's my talking points, then yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah, I mean, and to be candid, in the Fairfax City, you're not going to be able to walk to Vienna Metro. I mean, theoretically, Town of Vienna, you could walk or bike to Vienna Metro. Yeah.
But for
the bottom line is that when you have a small community that's fully built out and you're allocated these funds, there's no practical way to use them for building new roads. And what you would do is obviously look for pedestrian-friendly projects. One of those would be sidewalks themselves.
Thank you, Senator Peterson. Do you have any questions from the committee for Senator Peterson?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Boysko.
Yes, thank you. Senator, would you be able to clarify if each locality gets a certain amount of money, or this would come from the entire pot? You can apply for projects, is that correct?
You can apply for projects, and typically, as I understand, I've never been a member of NBTA, is that they collect, and I believe it's a portion of the recordation tax, and I believe it's a small portion of the sales tax, and they collect it, and then you apply for projects, and the money's then allocated. They have a commission which has representatives. Another issue is the towns are not representative, but that's a separate bill. I didn't bring that this year. But the bottom line is, for a small community like ours, sidewalk projects is what we can use it for.
Because in these situations, very often they revert to smart scale for assistance in determining what these projects are, and the city of Fairfax just doesn't have anything that's going to be able to compete in that universe.
Well, the problem is if we try and widen any of our major roads, we're going to take out my mom's house, and so we're not going to do that.
Not going to do that. Right. So, at any rate, anyone here to speak in favor of the bill? Anyone here to speak?
I knew it. Stalking me.
Opposed to the bill?
Can I get a protective order?
Hi, Tracy Baynard, speaking on behalf of the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority. Senator Peterson was very nice to sit down with me as we walked through why we oppose this bill. As you know, and you all have talked about it, the revenues in Northern Virginia are split 30% locals, and they have complete control over them. They can use them for sidewalks as it supports transportation, and many of them do. The regional funds have produced bike and pedestrian expansions. Of the 94 projects that the NVTA has funded, 4 are primarily bike or pedestrian expansion access projects. 70 other projects have bike and pedestrian elements as their secondary. So we are a multimodal region. We support bike and pedestrian movement. And we feel that already our local governments are doing a fine job of putting those elements into their projects and using our money to do it.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is Senator Peterson's request for sidewalk money does not advance the goals of the NVTA?
No, I would say that the sidewalks are already being built by the NVTA and its funding, and there's no need to put them at a higher level than any other mode of transportation that we take care of. The second thing, just a point that on line 43, little double I, we're concerned that the way that's presented, that the sidewalk projects would no longer be subject to the same sort of prioritization analysis as all other modes of transportation.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Anyone else here to speak on the bill, pro or con? All right, we operate on motion. Do we have a motion on the bill?
Do what your conscience drives you, Suter.
All right. I usually vote for Chat Peterson bills as penance for the 01 campaign, but I don't think this is a great idea. I think that the money ought to be going. The money is taken largely from drivers, and that needs to be the priority there. So I would move that we pass the bill by indefinitely.
We have a motion to PBI. Do we have a second? Okay. Open the rolls. Vote aye if you're in favor of passing the bill by indefinitely. Nay if you are opposed to passing it by. Oh, excuse me.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
Ayes 13, noes 2. Sorry, Senator Peterson. I believe last bill we have is Senator Boysko's bill. Do you want to?
Can I stay here?
You certainly can stay there. That is the tradition.
Great, that makes it easier. Mr. Chairman, I have SB 644, Traffic Incident Management Vehicles. You should be very interested in this, the TIMS program. And I have a substitute.
We pass out the substitute. Do we have a motion on the substitute? Do we have a second?
Second.
It's moved and seconded to accept the substitute. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Substitutes before us.
Great. The new language in the substitute adds more stringent training requirements for the drivers of these traffic incident management vehicles and requires that they're recertified every 2 years. It also limits flashing red and white lights to incident management coordinator and safety service control vehicles. This conforms my bill to its House counterpart, which is an administration bill, and I'm carrying this bill at the request of Loudoun County, and VDOT requested the amendment. SB 644 adds traffic incident management vehicles, otherwise known as TIMs, defined in the bill, operated by persons who meet certain training requirements to a list of vehicles exempt from certain traffic regulations at or en route to the scene of a traffic accident or similar incident. The bill also allows such vehicles to be equipped with sirens and flashing red or white secondary warning lights. It comes as a result of a 2018 study conducted by the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments. I have someone from VDOT here, I believe, to speak to the bill. Yes.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
VDOT.
Mr. Chair, Joanne Maxwell from VDOT. Senator Boysko described this substitute aptly. This substitute will now conform Senator's bill to an administration governor's bill, HB 983. Basically, this bill is similar to the bill you saw last year, but it's pared back slightly. This bill would authorize VDOT Safety Service Patrol and Incident Management Coordinator vehicles to display red flashing lights, to use sirens, only to get to those incidents that are emergency types of incidents and that involve a lane blockage or other hazards are involved. These vehicles would continue to have the yellow flashing lights, would continue to, when they are merely stopping on the side of the road to help a motorist who's run out of gas, who needs a tire change, they would continue to be required to use the yellow flashing lights. The red lights are only intended to get to emergencies. At this point in time, there are about 29 incident management vehicles and about 175 SSP vehicles in the force, so to speak. We estimate at any given time, there are 50 of these vehicles on the road. So, Mr. Chair, we feel like this bill is a little more narrowly tailored than the bill you all saw last year. The other change or thing that you are seeing in this bill is it's more stringent with regard to training requirements. We are requiring individuals that are operating these vehicles to attend training, recertification, EVOC recertification every 2 years as opposed to every 5.
And the key thing here really is that the flashing lights can continue to be used at the scene, and secondly, that we've added an auditory warning to people that we need to get to something that could be critical. So
that's correct,
very
Mr.
good.
Chair. Thank you.
Anyone else here to speak in favor of the bill?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I am Sterling Reeves of Hefty, Wiley, and Gore, representing the County of Loudoun. I also represent the City of Chesapeake, both of which favor this bill. This bill will make it possible for these traffic incident management vehicles to get to the scene more quickly and more safely. Once there, they can prevent secondary accidents, they can take over traffic management duties, relieving other first responders from that responsibility, and they can, importantly, they can restore normal traffic volumes more quickly. These vehicles do not look anything like ambulances or fire trucks, and confusion is unlikely in our view. Thank you. I'll be glad to answer questions.
Thank you very much, and this seems to fit in very well with a previous bill passed today about moving over. So, thank you. Next, please.
Mr. Chairman,
Welcome.
Dana Sharp from the Virginia Association of Chiefs of Police. We're not necessarily here in favor of the bill. The concern here is that they talked about being able to equip these vehicles with sirens, but if you look at the context of the entire statute, there's a lot of authority we're giving to VDOT to drive in a way that law enforcement, fire and rescue have to drive to come to these, and we're required to run sirens when we're running lights. These vehicles are not equipped with sirens. The next question is, are you going to be adding tow truck drivers? Because that may be the next request down the road. So while we understand that these teams are trying to do a good thing, we have a lot of respect for our VDOT support. They are not the first responder on the scene. It is fire, rescue, and EMS. And so we don't want to create confusion or add to the chaos of vehicles who are exceeding the speed limit, et cetera. If you all may recall, the crash we had some years back in Fairfax County with a police vehicle that was responding, did not run a siren, was just running lights, and it resulted in a fatality of another driver. So siren is a very critical component in responding to a critical incident. I have with me Chief Humberto Cardinal from Henrico County. While we don't have these teams down here, he can certainly speak to any other questions you may have about law enforcement response to critical incidents.
So you are opposed to the bill?
Yeah, I mean, I guess one other thing to look at possibly would be to create a sunset clause on it, give it a practice period.
No.
But I really do think there's a great deal of concern about adding these authorities, these exemptions in the law to VDOT.
Mr. Chairman?
You're lightly opposed to the bill?
Mr. Chairman?
Maybe more than lightly.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Sproul.
Before the next speaker come up, did I understand the young lady says that they could run through a red light and they don't have the siren and no noise? Did I understand that?
I don't believe, Mr. Chairman, members, I don't believe that VDOT vehicles are equipped with sirens at this time.
Mr. Chairman?
Well, wait a minute, don't do that. I want my question answered. So what about the speeding? If they go into a case, do they have anything to, let's say they're breaking the speed to get to an emergency somewhere, do they have anything on their truck to let the public know that, hey, I'm driving fast, I'm passing you on the road? Do they have anything to let them know that?
Mr. Chairman, members, I would have to turn that question over to VDOT. My understanding is, though, that they're asking to run yellow lights, which actually are also on tow trucks at this time.
Okay, if VDOT could answer that question, Joanne,
Mr. Chair, actually, this bill would allow VDOT to have sirens. That is the plan. And again, we will have these, as I've noted before, these vehicles will have both red and white flashing lights as well as yellow. They will only be using the red and white flashing lights when they're responding to emergencies, and they will have the auditory siren going.
Will they be like police or fire vehicles? I believe they're allowed to exceed the speed limit. Would they be allowed to exceed the speed limit by agency policy?
Mr. Chair, the law would allow that. One thing I would note is that we're very much looking at what Maryland does with their chart vehicles. They have a very similar program, and it's probably what caused MCOG to look at Virginia adopting the same sort of program. We are looking very carefully at their program, their policies, their procedures. We don't feel like we're going to start from scratch, but actually we're going to probably mirror their program very much.
And you feel like their program has been successful?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it's demonstrated some savings in terms of time to arrive, in getting to the scene of accidents. It's shaved off, in some cases, anywhere from 3 to 7 minutes off the response
So
time.
this is a traffic incident management thing. We're always looking to clear these things more quickly because of backups in traffic and the effect it has on people's lives and the economy, and we want to clear these accidents more quickly.
Mr. Chair, that is the case. We feel like if we can get to the scene quicker, we can perhaps set up the scene, get traffic cones, queue up traffic, and basically also help prevent secondary accidents that often occur. The shorter the duration of the incident, the more quickly we can get there, we think we are preventing secondary accidents.
Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. Next.
Mr. Chairman, Devin Cabot on behalf of the Virginia Fire Chiefs Association, and they do oppose the bill.
Good. Sir, welcome.
Good afternoon, Senators. Just to echo the sentiments that have been shared, the concern here obviously is putting additional vehicles responding in an emergency type mode with lights and sirens, not to be confused with law enforcement vehicles or fire and EMS, so that would be our concern.
Is there any concern that the drivers of the VDOT vehicles, assistance vehicles, or tow truck operators, or whoever have not been trained to operate at higher speeds to get to emergency scenes?
That is certainly a concern. We look at the training that's required of our law enforcement, our fire and EMS. There are very specific emergency vehicle operation courses that are required to operate those vehicles under those conditions. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
There are those training requirements. Again, we're just referring to the fact that we're equipping vehicles to perform the same type of response as you would your law enforcement and your fire and EMS vehicles.
And my concern here is doesn't take much training to learn how to turn on a siren and some lights, but it certainly does to operate at advanced or accelerated speeds to get somewhere. And I guess one of my concerns would be that, it's kind of like, oh boy, I'm going to the scene of something. I get to drive fast and maybe they haven't been trained for that. Is that a concern?
Again, my original concern was putting more vehicles responding in an emergency type of mode to get to a traffic scene. So you talk about law enforcement response, fire and EMS potentially, and now adding utility type vehicles to respond in emergency conditions to manage a traffic scene.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator McPike.
I just do have and I apologize to the patron in advance because I didn't get to discuss with the patron a couple of the things sitting and listening to some of the testimony. But, in over the 20 years I've been in the fire and EMS service, there have been conditions where we have misreported mile markers on highways because of where exit signs exist versus the real exit, and confusion over north and southbound. And often we look to the next EMS unit or fire unit based on the red lights, sometimes and many times at night, and then fog and other conditions in terms of locating. And so my concern may be that one of these red light VDOT trucks is on the northbound side, creating confusion, actually allowing us to pass further southbound for miles, adding on 10 minutes response time and then coming back around. So I think there's a potential for confusion and potential unintended, delay. And certainly that's not the patron's intent here. But I do think there are some level of concern that I would have Just knowing the different contexts. Additionally to that, to the officer's point about the number of vehicles in terms of precedent of when I'm approaching the intersection at the same time as a VDOT lighted truck, I would have to yield to them in that condition if they're entering the intersection first and let the VDOT truck pass before a medic unit or a fire truck in this condition. So there's sort of all sorts of different, I think, more nuanced issues that this might inject across the Commonwealth. So
Senator
I'm a little
McPike,
cautious.
can I ask you a question? You are familiar with, these kinds of incidents. Is it in high traffic areas like Planning District 8, where you have a lot of very congested interstates and what have you, would this rule have different impact in rural areas versus areas like Northern Virginia or even Hampton Roads, where Senator Spruill is, where you're talking about congested interstates where you're trying to get there quickly and you're trying to get traffic out of your way, and versus more rural situations where this might create some additional.
I mean, I think the question is, Mr. Chairman, would be that certainly the density of traffic and the increased number of events would certainly have an increased number of vehicles in this condition being deployed, I think, as are today, just with the amber lights versus sort of the additional feature. I think in the more densified areas, certainly the number of people to move over and then swerving moving across into traffic to yield right away certainly creates sort of additional accordion effect throughout traffic. Not that it's unwarranted. I just have concerns about some of the logistics involved with it.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Cosgrove.
Mr. Chairman, I think that the law enforcement and fire services have made the most salient points on this bill. Our law enforcement personnel and our fire personnel undergo specialized training for the driving they have to do. I haven't seen anywhere where we're going to have to provide this type of training on these type of response vehicles. I'm also very concerned about the confusion of the red and white lights between a traffic response vehicle and a fire service vehicle. I wish Senator Carrico was here, not because you're not a great chairman, but he had such. Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. But I guess my point was that he had some serious concerns about this as a former state trooper, and so I.
Mr. Chairman, I believe
Senator Boysko.
I believe our VDOT representative wanted to say something else, and I wanted to make a couple.
Certainly,
comments
Joanne. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, one last comment. We will be requiring the individuals that are operating these vehicles to take the exact same training that's required of all the other emergency responders. It's EVOC training and emergency vehicle operators certification. So they will be required to do that, and they will be required to recertify every 2 years.
Would that include tow truck?
No,
there's
Mr.
not.
Chair, this bill does not include
deal with
tow
tow
trucks.
trucks. No. Okay, so they would go through the training.
Yes, Mr.
Okay.
Chair, that's correct.
Senator Boysko, you want to?
Thank you. So I appreciate the time to just wrap this up. I'm carrying this at the request of Loudoun County, but also this is an administration bill. It went through unanimously in the House. VDOT responders are routinely delayed and prevented from arrival at significant traffic incidents due to congestion, especially in Northern Virginia in Planning District 8, where you and I both live. Multiple action reports have identified the inability of the VDOT TIM vehicles to negotiate the stalled traffic as significant contributors to increased incident clearance timelines. And those delays increase safety challenges, cost significant commuter hours, and greatly increase costs. Maryland, who we are basing our plan on, has been using the traffic management vehicles. They have been assisting a motorist every 14 minutes on average, and that's more than 37,400 motorist assists every year. It has prevented an estimated 225 to 250 secondary crash crashes every year and has saved drivers approximately $1 billion in annual fuel and delay costs. There are 9 localities who have provided resolutions in support of the traffic incident management legislation. They are Loudoun County, Prince William County, Frederick County, Smith County, Pulaski County, City of Salem, City of Virginia Beach, the town of Marion, the town of Wytheville. And I hope it is the pleasure of the body to report the bill.
Thank you, Senator Boysko. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Do we have a motion? Move to report. I'll second it. I'm sorry. And the motion should be amended to referral to finance. So we have a motion and a second to report the bill and refer to finance. Open the rolls. Favola, excuse me. I'll put her as a yes.
Ayes 6, noes 9.
Ayes 6, noes 9. The bill fails. Sorry, Senator Boysko. Senator Cosgrove, I believe you have our next offering.
We can do this brief. It won't take very long at all. Mr. Chairman, Mark Flynn from the Department of Aviation. I apologize. Mr. Flynn is here from the Department of Aviation. This bill basically would give some tax preferences for aircraft that are brought to the state of Virginia for maintenance. And he has several amendments, but he can probably talk about this bill better than I can.
And, do we have a substitute?
Yes, we do have a substitute. I move the substitute, Mr. Chairman.
Second on the, do we have a second on the substitute?
And, Mr. Chairman, before we go on.
Excuse me, all in favor of the substitute signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Substitutes before us. Senator Suderline.
I believe that Senator Favola's.
That was what I was trying to get to. Senator
Do you want
Favola's
to make that
bill is,
motion?
Also wants to be.
yes, it's 865, would like to be a chief co-patron.
Okay, we have a motion to roll Senator Favola's bill into Senator Cosgrove's bill and to be chief co-patrons. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? Open the rolls. Vote aye if you want that rolled that way.
Vote for.
There we go. Very good.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you'd let Mr. Flynn speak
Mr.
to
Flynn.
the
Mr. Chairman, Mark Flynn, Director of the Department of Aviation. Before I actually start on this bill, I will note that if, in light of the Fauquier County speeding bill, if you're flying your airplane over Fauquier County, you can go 290 miles an hour. So it's just another reason why people should fly more. This bill is aimed at really 2 main things. You'll recall in 2017, there was legislation to exempt aircraft parts from the sales tax. That has led to businesses opening in Virginia doing work on aircraft and businesses that do work already expanding. The risk, the situation is, and it's really on the last page of the bill, if you bring your airplane to Virginia to have it worked on, and in major work, and sometimes major work can take a while, then if you're here under the current law, 62 days, it's subject to registration. That means you have to pay the 2% sales tax. We don't want to do that. We want the state to get out of the way of economic development for this, for the businesses that work on aircraft. So this just says if you bring your airplane here solely to have it major maintenance or repair, then it's not subject to registration, therefore it wouldn't be subject to tax. The other part is actually it's on the next to the last page of the substitute. It changes from 60 to 90 days, the time that an aircraft has to be in Virginia before it has to be registered. What we're trying to get at there is, say you have a company in Georgia and you're opening a plant in Shenandoah Valley. You fly your corporate jet to Shenandoah Valley Airport. Currently, if you fly there 62 times, you got to pay the tax. You got to register. We're changing it. It was a simple, maybe a somewhat arbitrary way of fixing it to 90 days. That if your aircraft is here enough, then yeah, you got to pay your share. And it's just as it's an attempt to make that better so that we don't have an impediment to businesses from other states coming to Virginia coming here on their aircraft. That's all. The other part of it is it provides that we don't, that owners of unmanned aircraft won't have to register them. We think there are about 60,000 drones in Virginia today. It would be completely too burdensome for us to try to register those and chase them down.
Absolutely. Mr. Chairman, I also mentioned that in the Navy, I was an aircraft maintenance officer. And what Mr. Flynn says is true. If you have some serious jet engine work that needs to be done, changing on blades or part of the turbines, it can take an extraordinary amount of time and retesting before the aircraft can be flown again. So this would give our aircraft maintenance people more of an opportunity to be into that market. And I hope we'll pass the bill. And I would move to report the bill.
Do we have a second? We have a motion to second to report the bill.
Mr. Chairman.
And we have already rolled it.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'm sorry,
Senator
just one follow-up technical question. No problem with the concept of what you're getting at. But instead of occupied, could it be built to be occupied? Because we have in Manassas Airport autonomous person-size craft. I wouldn't want to necessarily exclude that technology because of a code technical definition change, because they are governed by FAA and other things that may hurt other funding opportunities. Mr. Chairman, is there a way to resolve that?
The staff would like to address that.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I think that issue is addressed in the substitute. If you look at the definition section, it fixes that.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, the way we changed it is we just put a definition for unmanned aircraft in, and that is a quote from the Federal Aviation Regulations. So it addresses that.
All right, we have a first and second to pass the bill. Could we open the rolls?
Ayes 14, noes 1.
Ayes 14, noes 1. The bill passes. Thank you, Senator Cosgrove. We have two final bills, both of which are mine. And if I could ask Senator Cosgrove to assume
I'd be more than happy to, Mr. Chairman.
The helm of the Starship Enterprise here.
Which bill would you like to take first, sir?
I'd like to do the towing bill first.
All right. Committee will bring its attention to Senate Bill 916, the chairman's bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Senate Bill 916, this Senate Bill 916 raises the rate which towers can charge for evening, weekend, and holiday fees from $25 to $30. It's a $5 increase. This modest increase helps our friends in the towing industry keep up with the rapid changes in costs related to insurance, property values, salaries, health care, fuel, equipment, taxes, and many other items. This fee has not been increased since 2003. That's 16 years ago. It is very important to note that this fee is completely at your locality's discretion under this bill. And with us today is Matt Benko with the Northern Virginia Towing Association and several other towing associations. Mr. Benko.
Mr. Benko.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Couldn't be better said. This fee has not been changed in a very long time. I negotiated it with Senator O'Brien, which seems like a million years ago.
It was a long time ago.
It was. But fees have gone up considerably, and it is permissive. So you're not voting for the increase the locality has to approve. It's very important. Thank you.
All right, are there any questions of the patron? Is there anybody here to speak against the bill? Does anybody care about the bill?
I do.
Yes, sir. You good? You good? You just
Move report.
That's been moved and properly seconded that the bill be reported. All those in favor, please vote aye on the electronic voting board.
How do we get?
Just vote yea.
Ayes 11, noes 2.
The bill is reported, sir.
Thank you, sir. Our next bill is electric bikes. It is Senate Bill 871.
All right, bring our attention to Senate Bill 871.
This amends the definition of electric-powered bicycles to include 3 classes of such bicycles based upon the type of motor and maximum miles per hour that the motor is capable of propelling the bicycle. This bill also provides that the electric power-assisted bicycles and operators are afforded the same rights and privileges as bicycles and operators, and limits local and state regulation of the operation of such electric-assisted bicycles to certain bicycle paths, shared-use paths, and trails. The bill requires manufacturers and distributors of electric-powered assisted bicycles to include on each electric power-assisted bicycle a label indicating certain technical specifications, and on each class, 3 electric power-assisted bicycles, a miles-per-hour speedometer. The bill requires persons operating or riding on a Class 3 electric vehicle power-assisted bicycle to wear a helmet. Now, what these are is these bicycles stage up in 3 different categories, and basically it involves Class 1. You know, we're talking about a bicycle equipped with a motor that provides assistance only when the rider is pedaling, and that ceases to provide assistance when the e-bike reaches 20 miles an hour. So that is the slower of the vehicles. Class 2 bicycle equipped with a throttle-actuated motor that ceases to provide assistance with the e-bike when the e-bike reaches 20 miles per hour. And Class 3 bicycle equipped with a motor that provides assistance only when the rider is pedaling, and that ceases it to provide assistance when the e-bike reaches 28 miles per hour. And this does not preclude a locality if they feel that due to the traffic on a particular trail or bike could not operate.
Senator, would you suspend? Sir, would you shut that door, please? Oh, all right. Thank you.
That it would not prohibit a locality from forbidding these electric-assisted bicycles on certain of that city's sidewalks or trails or parks or roads if they felt it was inappropriate. But this just modernizes our e-bike law in Virginia, and actually it's a good local control bill as to how they where they want to allow these. But right now they're allowed anywhere else a bicycle is allowed.
Senator Spruill?
What class the Robin my playing on old legs? What class is that?
That is, although I'm sure it's a very classy vehicle, Senator Spruill, it is not included in this bill because it is a totally man-powered bill.
Thank you so much. Bless your heart.
Thank you.
All right, sir, would you like to speak to the bill? Are you for or against, or?
Mr. Chairman of the Virginia Bicycling Federation, we don't have a position with the bill itself. We do have one concern, though, on line 424 when it comes to the prohibition of Class 1 or Class 2 on multi-use paths, bicycle paths. In general, we're finding that these, particularly Class 1 and Class 2, we're seeing a lot of people that haven't ridden in a number of years, people a little bit older, a little bit out of shape. It's getting a lot of people out to get exercise, and they're really not causing any problems out there. I've asked around, and I can't find a single incident in the Commonwealth where we've had an issue with that. Class 3, where you're doing 28 miles per hour, that's a separate issue, and I can see the concern there. But with Class 1 or 2, we would ask that perhaps the committee might consider taking that out of there.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, excuse me.
Please, Senator, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tyler Bishop on behalf of Harley-Davidson Motor Company, and which is a member of the People for Bikes National Advocacy Group and Trade Association, and we brought this legislation to Chairman Marsden and appreciate him carrying it. This is an emerging market, and so we're just trying to set up some rules of the road here. And the intent for local, we rather than the state being prescriptive, we'd rather give the localities, as the chairman said, the discretion to do what they wish if they want to limit any of these classes. Mr. Todd Ketch is a retailer an e-bike retailer from the city of Alexandria, and he would like to speak if that's okay with you.
Sure, briefly. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Senator Spruill.
Where are we from? Do we have those things where we from? We're from Chesapeake. Do we have those kind of things in Chesapeake?
I haven't seen them. I have a Harley, but Go ahead, sir, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Marsden, we appreciate your support of this bill. So my name is Todd Ketch. I live in Woodbridge. I own Pedigo electric bikes in Alexandria, Virginia. We are in full support of this legislation. This will bring Virginia into consistency what we've already seen in 23 other states where they've passed similar laws to clearly define the three classes of electric bikes so that consumers can be confident that they know when and where they can ride. Because these are a great new opportunity, as the gentleman mentioned before, to get a lot of people back on bikes or to get them out riding in a new way, to use bicycles to do things that they might not be able to do on a conventional bike, whether it's commuting or traveling the area. It's great for consumers, great for tourists that are coming to the state, and so having the knowledge that they can do that based on these definitions is very positive. So we certainly support the bill.
Thank you, sir.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could, to address the concerns, I think local control is critical here. Everything is unique. There are probably some trails in anyone's hometown that maybe on Saturdays or Sundays are just too crowded for this kind of a vehicle, and they could pass such a local ordinance to do that. So this would be an opt-out thing for localities, although right now, under the law, it's all opt-in. You can use it, but it allows everybody to opt out at their own discretion based on their own needs.
Sir, I'm sure that Virginia Beach would have some concerns about opt-in or opt-out. But, and sir, I think the bill is probably going to get out of the chairman's committee, okay? But he's a reasonable man. Maybe you can address your concerns with him, and if he feels so led to put in a floor amendment, then he can do so.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir, I'm listening.
I'd like to have the Senate Transportation Committee report Senate Bill 871.
It's been moved and properly seconded that Senate Bill 871 be reported. All those in favor, please vote aye on the electronic voting machine.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Your bill is reported, sir.
It's down. Mr. Chairman, I believe staff, does that conclude the docket?
It does not, sir.
We have another?
Oh, there's several Cerevel bills, and there's a, yeah, there's a million Cerevel bills. But actually, Senator Hashmi has a bill. It's actually fairly benign. Would you care to?
Is she available?
Hear? I mean,
I didn't see.
She is. All right, Mr. Chairman, she's not available, so.
So,
Senator Bell, do you have a bill? Okay. Okay. All right, then we're done.
We'll get Senator Servell, Senator Hashmi next time.
Okay.
Let's go home, yeah.
Would you care for the committee to rise, sir? All right, the committee will rise.